Well, we're back on Bring It Home, where we take concepts of homeland security and bring them home to you. And we're talking right now with Dr. Anna Satterfield, who's the Associate Director of Human Resources at Texas A&M, where she supervises employee assistance programs and employee relations. And it's a lot more interesting, actually, than that sounds, isn't it, Anna?
Absolutely.
Her doctorate is in counseling psychology. She's a licensed psychologist. And important for us today, she's a member of the Task Force on Campus Emergencies here at Texas A&M.
Yes.
Thank you very much for being with us, Anna.
Certainly.
Boy, 10 years ago, no one would have thought of a licensed psychologist at a university as being part of Homeland Security, but things have changed, haven't they?
They have. Our role has certainly become more integrated into day-to-day operations with that, and really asking us to look at behavioral analysis and patterns and trends that we see in our employees.
Let's start by setting up what I think is an important tone, and that is that true or false, in the United States of America, one of the absolute safest places you can be on a day-to-day basis is a college campus. True or false?
Absolutely true. Absolutely true.
Large number of people, but safer than a city street?
Absolutely. Violence in general on campus is really a low base rate. We don't see it all that often.
So really issues of crime, assault, property crimes, much lower than even in many rural areas.
Yes, you're correct.
Now, having said that, I got to tell you that as an outsider, not in the field of counseling, looks to me like we are having an increasing number of incidents at universities and colleges, high schools, and also that they're increasing in severity. Is that just because I'm watching more news, or is that really happening?
I think the media is capturing it a lot more frequently now. It still remains a low probability event, but it has high risk consequences, and that's what we really want to pay attention to.
And
now,
the shooter business in particular, because they have access to weapons now, they're so high powered, you get a lot of casualties if something like that happens.
Yes. You're correct.
Well, let's talk about how you approach that and how your profession, the issue of counseling, has been brought in, because you're not a counselor on a day-to-day basis. How have you been brought in professionally into the whole structure of a university?
What we've done on the employee side is really begin to focus on how do we make our employees more productive. And we know that stress in everyday life certainly impacts people as they go to work. We would hope they would leave it at the door, but unfortunately that doesn't happen. And so what we want to do as counselors is help those people become the best employee that they can. We help supervisors develop better communication skills, know how to work with certain employees, and really begin to intervene with employees who show productivity problems, because our goal is to retain them.
Productivity is a very important point, and retention, very important point.
Absolutely.
Because this is not just a counseling the way I sort of learned it in the Army, sit down at the Foot Locker, I got a piece of paper to discuss with you. Really, you also develop programs, you try to change the tone, perhaps in the classroom or in the employment place. You have a variety of presentations that you put together. Talk to us just a second about setting the proper tone with employees and with students at a university.
Sure. We basically take a community psychology approach, and that is helping people identify their potential and how they can be the most productive person that they can. So we set programs dealing with stress management, interpersonal issues that they want to work on, as well as relationship issues, because we know all of us interact with people every day, and that's the foundation of everything we do.
So a better, more productive, happier place to work, you get fewer problems.
You're correct.
Also, it's interesting to me, from a Homeland Security perspective, that this whole concept of personal productivity and personnel problems has been sort of melded into the emergency management realm. The same people that are dealing with those issues, the same committees and groups, are also dealing with response to hurricanes, to tornadoes, to power outages, and so forth. That's something new, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because what we're trying to do is the early intervention programs and keep everybody's stress reduced, whether that be the emergency workers or those that have experienced some type of trauma.
So you also get the same sort of team that's involved, because whether you're responding to a tornado, I mean we use Code Maroon, getting the word out on a problem. Whether you're responding to some act of violence or whether you're responding to some weather emergency, you're using the same communication systems.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, let me ask you a tough question that I'm sure people will want to hear the answer to this question, Anna. Who's hardest to work with, students, faculty, or staff?
Wow. I guess I would have to say the older we are, the more entrenched and ingrained we are in our behaviors, and we're less likely to change. So that's probably the best way for me to describe it.
Is that the best way? My sister gave me a shirt for Christmas, and it says, if I'm talking, you should be taking notes. So would it be fair to say that people who do that for a living are pretty tough for you to work with, you to approach?
Yes, very much so. They're very intelligent. They know a lot about world events and a lot of material that they talk about every day.
Let's talk about what they need to know. What are the issues that you want to, when you talk about personnel interventions now, when we talk about a potential crisis, what kinds of things should we be looking for?
What we're always trying to do is, again, retain the employee, but we're looking for warning signs that give us a suggestion that that employee may be struggling. It could be stress on the job. It may be that their productivity has declined. Perhaps they're exhibiting something that suggests substance abuse problems or mental health issues, or they just don't seem to be getting along with coworkers very well.
Anna, in retrospect, being very serious for a minute, because we have had a number of incidents in the United States, Virginia Tech, high school shootings, Columbine, we've had a number of employee shootings, we've had a number of such violent incidents. And almost uniformly, after the incident is over, when they do the post-mortem of the whole event, they realize that A, there were lots of warning signs present, and B, everybody knew something was wrong.
Absolutely. Violence is a process, and it does not occur in a vacuum. And frequently there are red flag or concerning behaviors that have been going on for quite some time. It's just that nobody connected the dots. Everybody had a different piece of the puzzle and didn't know that somebody else had something else that might bring that context into kind of a different cognitive thinking.
We think of an explosion, but in fact this was frequently days, months, years, and a build-up, and very complex, and the reason a person decided to act out.
Absolutely.
Now, what do we do about that? If I'm a faculty member, if I'm a student, if I'm a coworker, remembering that we want to retain the person. This is not about finding somebody to shun and eliminate from society. What kinds of things can we do? What do we do here at our university?
Well, what we have established is a special situations team, and the goal is to identify at-risk behaviors prior to any type of violent incident. So we want to identify any students, faculty, or staff that are struggling in day-to-day life. Any behavior that's getting in the way of working, learning, or living environment is pretty much how we decide to express that.
But that team has to be very careful about privacy, because we don't want to ruin somebody's life or career on the basis of what might be an unfounded report.
Absolutely, and that's why the team does work very hard to analyze the report that it comes in, to gather information prior to even taking any actions.
Big question. As a faculty member, as a staff member, when I sense that there's something wrong with a coworker or a student, but I don't want to approach them directly, now what do I do? How do you get to that team?
Sure. We have multiple ways here at the university, and we have a website. That's www.tellsomebody.tamu.edu.
Tellsomebody.tamu.edu.
Correct, and you can file an electronic report, whether it be anonymous or with your name. You can also contact various representatives on campus, faculty, staff, or student representatives, and provide that report via telephone or even in person. So we have a multifaceted approach to reports.
And that doesn't go to a person who stomps around in the situation. That goes to a team of professionals that work their way through in a very sensitive way to try to identify a problem and solve it.
That's correct. It's a multidisciplinary team that represents all offices on campus that have the capability and resources really to intervene with all faculty and staff.
Because saving that individual, keeping them productive, keeping them part of our community, really is the top priority, in addition to the issue of safety for everybody else.
Yes, absolutely. We want to keep somebody healthy on campus.
Great story. Appreciate your sharing it with us. Anna Satterfield serves as the Associate Director of Human Resources at Texas A&M, and she's a member of the Task Force on Campus Emergencies. Appreciate your information. Hope you feel like you've learned a lot. That's the idea here on Bring It Home, is to take concepts of homeland security, national security, and even local safety and security. And we want to bring them home to you. So stay with us for more on this YouTube channel or on television.